on the road on a road trip in India through Kerala, Karnataka, and Goa. And we are taking our Ayurvedic lifestyle on the road. I hope you'll follow us and get some interesting information from our vlog. See you soon!
Ayurveda seekers, welcome back to episode about the water and the earth elements. Last video we spoke about fire or Agni, a very important element for our body constitutions. And as we spoke about doshas and introduced the idea of doshas in Ayurveda, we could see that we are not made up of only one element, or we do not have one element governing all processes, but some elements are doing a job that is somewhat more central to the functioning of the other elements, and that was Agni, or the fire element. We spoke about individuals who are predominantly of Pitta nature, and we saw that they happen to have very high acuity and intelligence, as well as very good, strong physical health. Now, today we are going to speak about water and earth, or otherwise the combination of these two elements in the Kapha Dosha. So, when we talk about the element of water, this is a very important element that is primarily responsible for allowing us to rejuvenate, but also to provide a lot of life important functions through the element of water. If we take a look at our planet, we can observe that water is one of the most abundantly present elements on our planet. So let's read a little bit from the book on the marmotherapy of Dr. Vasant Lad and what he has to say about the water element in particular. Water, or apas, which is the Sanskrit term for water, appears in the human body as liquid, aqueous, unctuous, soft, and slimy substances. Water predominates in all bodily secretions, of course, as they are liquid in nature, and excretions, including the cerebrospinal fluid, glandular secretions, pleural fluid, and digestive juices. It is also a significant part of plasma, blood, sweat, saliva, and urine. So as you can see clearly, anything that is liquid in nature and not necessarily a water element in itself, in the sense that it is not the actual H2O water molecular structure, we are really talking about the primordial element of water, which defines the liquid quality of a substance. In addition to the water element, we have the presence of the earth element in the Kapha Dosha. Now, the earth element is responsible for all physical embodiment. So we can talk of it almost in the sense of matter. So anything that is solid in nature would have the component of the earth element. It creates body parts that are thick, stable, massive, heavy, and coarse. It manifests in all solid substances such as bones, cartilage, tendons, and nails. Earth is a substantial part of hair, teeth, skin, flesh, and feces. The earth element plays an important role in all structural aspects of the body. All bodily structures are created by earth. Now, let's think a little bit in terms of construction of a house, something we can externalize so that we can observe the function of these elements in a situation that is outside of the parameters of our body. When we look at a house, we know that in order to build a house, we will need some strong structures that will support that house. We would first initiate a foundation for that house, and in a way, we can speak maybe of the fire element as the foundation of the house, because without the fire contributing to the transformation of all the energies present in that house, we would not be able to actually create the structure. Now, when it comes to the actual beams or the strong structural elements like the pillars, this is where the earth element would come in to create those pillars. In our body, we can speak about our skeleton or our bones as being of that solid structure that provides the overall structural element that can support the rest of the tissues and the rest of the organs to locate themselves around the skeletal system. We do, however, know that the bones are porous, which actually is the presence of the air and the vata element, and that is necessary because we need certain communications to take across even the bone structure. So we provide some space and some channels for energy to be able to travel even through the bones, through the pores of the bones. But the structure of the bone itself, which means the shape of the bone, the size of the bone, that is determined by the earth element in particular. And so this is where we definitely see the presence of the solidity and the kind of earth building element that is our structural support, right, for our bodies, just like it is a structural support that we observe in a house. Now, let's try to understand, how does the combination of water element and earth element function in our bodies? The combination of these two elements actually constitutes the Kapha Dosha, or the Kapha constitution. Kapha is the protoplasmic biological substance, or plasma, derived mainly from the earth and water elements. Its qualities include heavy, slow, liquid, cold, oily, sticky, slimy or smooth, dense, hard, static, cloudy, soft, and gross. Now, out of all of these, some are actually more easily observable and to some extent more important in being able to diagnose a Kapha dosha. For example, when we speak about oiliness, coldness, we know that we are dealing with Kapha, because coldness is also a quality of the Vata dosha, which is predominantly air in nature. However, the air dosha would be much more dry, and we would observe a cold temperature, let's say cold skin. The temperature of the skin would be cold, but it would also be very dry. Then we know that there's an excess of air energy or air element. If the skin has an oily quality and at the same time it is cool in nature, then we can definitely determine that this individual is of a Kapha dosha. Now, also when we talk about these qualities, the heaviness and the slowness is very much an attribute of the Kapha Dosha that can be observed more so in the slow digestive fires as well as the slow mental processes. Now, it doesn't mean that someone is not intelligent because they take a little bit longer to understand a concept. Sometimes, for some people, they need to take a longer time to analyze or to compare certain ideas in order to come to a very clear conclusion or clear understanding of some concepts. Once they reach that conclusion, they tend to be very firm and very knowledgeable about those things because they take the time to research, they take the time to test it out, and they tend to reach those conclusions to some extent with some level of wisdom and experience involved. And so in that sense, they accumulate knowledge, although in a slower process, but at the same time, they accumulate that knowledge with more stability and more permanence, where others can rely on their intelligence to be provided for certain situations. Now, when we have individuals who are, let's say, of a Pitta dosha or of a Vata dosha, we have a very different mental process, which either is too fast or sometimes can be mistakenly reached with some errors and can lead to some more problematic situations because a conclusion is reached too fast, without the necessary information and without the testing and the experimenting that is needed to have a solid idea. So intelligence is something that is very diverse in nature, right? And we all recognize different situations require different types of intelligence, which is exactly why the fact that we are all so different is a wonderful thing, because together we can contribute and pretty much solve any problem existing in nature.
Hi, we are joining you from Goa. We finally made it here, and not yet on the beach, on the famous beaches of Goa, but we are on our way to Arambol, and we just made a stop at this beautiful cashew nut plantation, and we're enjoying a lovely farm stay with a natural pool, which is amazing to get a bit refreshed and relaxed in this natural, no chemicals pool, just the grass that's doing all the proper maintenance for the swimming pool. And the water temperature is lovely. It's very relaxing. It's more on the warm side, but the body is just completely relaxed, and it's actually reminding me of the Watsu therapy, because the water is actually warm water for the Watsu and relaxation. And we're just watching the sunset and taking a nice dip in the water.
So what kind of substance do we get when we mix water with earth? Well, we actually get a very good building material. most building materials are composed of some level of mixing of these two elements. We may have concrete, which is made out of rock, which would be an earth element, and then we would be adding water to it and mixing the cement and creating what is mostly used in construction. Also in the old ancient times, we mainly used the actual soil with certain clays, and we would make a muddy mixture. Sometimes certain dunks, right, or animal products are used also to create building material. And they are all, in any case, predominantly of this combination. Now, if you have a very good building material, what can you do with it? Well, you can build a lot of things. The same way the body requires a good amount of building material to build a good body. So when we think about nutrition, this is where the earth and the water elements come in. And just think about an early age, a child. What do we need more than anything? Well, primarily we need food in order for our bodies to grow in a healthy way, and we need to drink plenty of liquids. So the young age or the young stage of our life is very, very much dominated by the Kapha Dosha. So even if we ourselves are of a different predominant dosha, right? Our Prakriti or our original dosha is Pitta or Vata. The water and the earth elements will still be present in a large quantity during our young age, because we are in the process of growing and in the process of building our bodies. So in that way, even though we are all of a very individual constitution, depending on our age, we will be under the influence of a particular dosha at that time. The same way, we are under the influence of a particular dosha depending on the time of the day. Even the daily exchange of energy is dominated by one or other dosha more so than the other. So you can look up this information. It's very interesting because it can help us determine that, if we observe certain situations that tend to occur, like migraines, or let's say that you notice that your digestion is causing you problems at a particular time of the day, usually, let's say more so around lunchtime or more so during dinner time, that also can be regulated by paying attention to the time of the day and the dosha that is predominant during that day, and trying to address the balance related to those elements in your body according to the time of the day.
Just look at how rich this cashew nut tree is. It's full of the fruit hanging from its branches and ripening slowly. The green fruit then turning yellow and eventually red, like this. And this tree, when you look at it from far, it's almost like a Christmas tree full of presents, with a lot of nuts hanging all over its branches. So this is our beautiful stay in a cashew nut plantation with the farm stay. What's that in your hand?
This is cashew.
Oh,
This is cashew nut and fruit.
so it has a fruit part and then it has a nut part?
Mm-hmm.
And can you eat the fruit as well?
Yes, can eat.
And how do you get the nut?
Just simply twisting and nut is yours.
Very nice. Then you roast it and remove the shell.
Yeah,
And
this is really ripe, good to go, and this one can use some other things.
and what did you try last night?
Actually, we tried cashew liquor made from this fruit.
Uh-huh.
Exactly tastes like this.
Yeah, and it was a nice spicy
Yeah,
infused liquor. Very nice taste.
Yeah,
And we had a very good night's sleep after it.
some cashew liquor. Okay.
There's the family also who are part of this plantation and who are walking around collecting the nuts this morning. It's nice and humid out, but it's a very nice morning to be up and surrounded by all this greenery. We took a walk about probably 1 kilometer around the plantation itself, and now we're coming back for breakfast. Looking forward to a home cooked meal. See you later.
So to conclude about the importance of the Kapha Dosha, which certainly has an important function for the growth of the body and just about the growth of any living being, we can apply the same principles to plants, we can apply the same principles to animals, and we can observe these things sometimes even more easily because we know that a little plant will need earth and water to be able to grow into a tree. And of course, what do we place into the earth? We place the seed, which is that fire element that will give the spark of life, right? And if that spark is strong enough, the plant will be a healthy plant if we provide it enough nutrition and enough support to grow into a healthy tree. So just to finish up, let's take a look at what else we can understand about the Kapha Dosha and whether or not you happen to be a Kapha individual, or maybe you happen to have a Kapha deviation where the presence of the Kapha energy is prevalent in your body at this time. It is the constructing, cementing material that gives structure and stability to the body. Any new tissue or cell is created by Kapha. So you can see that while we need fire to transform energy from one form to another form so that it can be used for cellular growth, it is really the Kapha Dosha that's regulating and creating the material that is needed for that growth. It maintains nutrition and nourishment, providing the body with strength and energy. The repair, rehabilitation, and reconstruction of all body parts and tissues are facilitated by this dosha. So you can imagine that if an individual is in a state of recovery from an ailment or from, let's say, a surgery or an injury to the body, the Kapha Dosha will be very active at the stage of repair of the body, and therefore we need a lot of rest so that we can provide maximum energy and direct the Kapha energy toward that particular area of the body so that it can rebuild and rehabilitate itself with better success. It provides oleation, which is basically the oils or the moisture that is needed for all of our body organs, and lubrication to nourish the joints and the tissues. Kapha is responsible for the retention of the psychological and cellular memory. It has an affinity for the stomach, chest, lungs, and the lymphatic system. It also exists in the kidneys, pancreas, adipose tissue, and bodily fluids. Kapha has a slow, sustained action compared to the other doshas. It is present in all connective tissues where subconscious memories are stored. So you can see there's a very strong correlation between the Kapha dosha and the function of memory. So when it comes to the individuals of a Kapha mental constitution. These are individuals that tend to be very, very good with remembering things over long periods of time. They may not retain the information as quickly as someone, and so their short memory span may actually be not as sharp, but their long memory is very, very strong. And in many ways, I tend to symbolize it to myself in form of an elephant. And elephants actually happen to be predominantly of Kapha nature. They are very watery on the inside. They actually have a very, very high content of water in their tissues. And of course, we know them as these giants that clearly have a strong earth component as well. And we happen to know from research about elephants that they have a very strong and long capacity for memory. But not only mental memory, we are also seeing that when it comes to cellular memory, the Kapha Dosha is a very important element in helping the cellular process of rejuvenation as well as renewal. And it is an important process in maintaining health, especially as we age. The Kapha Dosha is the dosha that is the one that's diminishing, and so we need to provide support for this dosha in proper oleation and lubrication of all of our systems. Otherwise, we know that with age, our joints tend to get dry, cranky, and we either have inflammation in the joints, or otherwise we have sort of very frail joints that tend to break easily. So Kapha Dosha and the elements of water and earth are important elements to be maintained throughout the life of an individual and should be paid attention to, especially as the person is aging. So I hope that this information is helpful to you as well as perhaps to your close ones, especially when we take care of our aging parents or grandparents. These are the kind of things that we can certainly do at home and help out with, small things, but things that make a big difference, like even a small oil massage for their joints would be very, very helpful to help ease the discomfort that comes with old age. Next time, we will talk about air and space, and we will discuss the Vata dosha, which is also a very important dosha for the function of all of our bodies, as well as the environment around it. So please join me next time, and until then, Ayubowan.